The fallout from the F1 season finale in Abu Dhabi between Max Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton continues to dominate headlines, and Mercedes boss Toto Wolff's admission that Lewis Hamilton was disillusioned by the loss doesn't help. Lewis Hamilton's silence since the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix has fueled speculation about his future in Formula One. If he made a surprise exit, Mercedes would be in a pickle in terms of filling his seat. So let's consider the possibilities of Hamilton retiring in 2022, what that will mean for his team, and who will replace the Brit next season. The media pushed Wolff to put an end to the notion that Hamilton's displeasure with the manner of the safety car restart at Yas Marina would be enough for him to abandon the sport entirely. The Mercedes team principal, however, could not confirm anything and instead stated that he hopes Hamilton will return. I would very much hope that Lewis continues racing because he is the greatest driver of all time. Hamilton has said nothing in public since losing the World Championship, even missing the FIA Prize Gala in Paris, which is being investigated by the governing body as a possible violation of F1 sporting regulations. However, rival Max Verstappen believes Hamilton has more to offer, insisting that he must overcome heartbreak in order to respond, as all champions do. It was heartbreaking for him, absolutely, because up until 4 laps from the end, he was almost certain to be world champion. Then, with this change of procedure, or whatever you want to call it, suddenly he lost the world championship. It was tough. It was extremely tough. But of course, I do count on him being back on the grid next year and fighting to get back that world championship that kind of got taken away from him in a way. I think Lewis should look at what he's achieved. That should comfort him and encourage him to keep going, because he can still fight for the 8th title again next year. So I see no reason for him to give up or stop now. The 2016 world champion Nico Rosberg also hopes Hamilton and Verstappen deliver another classic next year after being neck and neck throughout the entire season. I do hope that Lewis and Max will go at it again next year. Of course, I'm not the guy to be saying that because I also disappeared into the distance after I won the title, so it really wouldn't be fair to say that. It was just so amazing. Those two guys. There are completely new regulations next year, so there could be another team in the mix as well. So I think we're in for another great season next year. However, with no guarantee of Lewis Hamilton's return to fight for an 8th world title, Mercedes must have a backup plan in place in case the unthinkable occurs. If it is confirmed that Hamilton will not return, Wolff's phone will be ringing off the hook as retired and contractually available Grand Prix drivers contact him. Nico Hülkenberg appears to be the most obvious fallback solution, even in the short term, among those with recent experience who are not under contract in 2022. Mercedes would almost certainly not want to risk going for someone without a lot of experience alongside a relatively young George Russell in one of its cars. Mercedes, however, is most likely to go for a known quantity on the current grid, with experience and speed, leaving the team with few clear options. One would be to approach Alpine about releasing former Mercedes young driver Esteban Ocon from his contract and relocating him to Mercedes. Following some impressive performances in the Alpine, Ocon was even linked with a move to the team for 2022 earlier in the season. The Frenchman could bring some experience as well as knowledge of the Mercedes team, having served as their reserve driver in 2019. Alpine, however, has invested heavily in Ocon, understands how strong he can be, and its longer-term future is likely to revolve more around him than Fernando Alonso, who'll be out of contract at the end of next year, making the possibility of an Ocon move improbable. Valtteri Bottas is another obvious choice. Now, the Finn may have recently left the team, but there is no one better in terms of being able to immediately slot back into place without the adjustment period that comes with the new environment. Again, Bottas has agreed a long-term contract with Alfa Romeo, which could cause complications. However, because Toto Wolff has a good relationship with the team's boss, Fred Vasseur, the chances of the two sides coming up with a plan are not zero. This begs the question of what would happen elsewhere in the field if either Ocon or Bottas took Hamilton's place. Alpine's best bet would be to promote F2 champion Oscar Piastri, who is already signed on as a reserve driver for the team in 2022. Given Fernando Alonso's vast experience on the other side of the garage, the opportunity to give a rookie a chance may not be too risky. Meanwhile, if Alfa Romeo loses Bottas, A more experienced driver would be preferred, with Guan Yu Zhou filling the other seat. Kimi Raikkonen appears to be done with Formula One, so a comeback in the style of Felipe Massa can be ruled out. A more likely scenario would be the return of Antonio Giovinazzi, who raced for the team for 3 seasons. Given Giovinazzi's ties to Ferrari, there would undoubtedly be some excitement at Maranello if the Italian was given another shot at Formula One. This, of course, is all speculation in light of Hamilton's continued silence, and the chances are that the 7-time world champion will be back to fight for that record-breaking 8th title when the new season begins in March. That sentiment is shared by prominent figures in the sport. One of them is Lord Peter Hain, Vice Chairman of the All-Party Parliamentary Group of Formula One, who believes Hamilton will be back fighting next season as he always has. He has got a contract for another 2 years. I think all of his fans, including me, will hope and expect he comes back to make sure he puts right the wrong that was done to him. I'm hoping he will, by his sheer ability, overcome this. He has overcome racism, prejudice. He's come from a very humble background with an extraordinary father. He's the poor black kid who made it to the top. Most of the other drivers come from very comfortable backgrounds. That's no criticism of them. I think he'll be back. Formula One will be massively, massively damaged if he doesn't. He will retire at some point in the next few years, of course. Formula One will have been boosted by his contribution to the sport. There's no other Formula One champion who has had a greater reach into the average citizen right across the world than Lewis. Lewis Hamilton appeared to have his 8th World Championship wrapped up after dominating the entire race in Yas Marina. However, in the final few laps of the race, a safety car was deployed after Nicholas Latifi collided with the wall, allowing Max Verstappen to pit for new soft tyres. Massey initially announced that the 5-lapped cars between Hamilton and Verstappen would not be allowed through for the final lap of the race, but then changed his mind late in the race, much to the chagrin of Toto Wolff and the Mercedes garage. Lord Hain slammed the FIA's decision of the title decider in Abu Dhabi, claiming that the race was rigged to create a dramatic finish, and expressed sympathy for Hamilton. As a long-life Formula One fan, I thought it was a perverted outcome. The finish was effectively rigged by the stewards in order to produce a dramatic finale for the theatre, rather than a racing outcome. I think it's left a sour taste, unless you're a die-hard Verstappen fan, but even many of them have admitted that it's left an unpleasant taste in their mouth. Okay, the rules are very complex for the average fan, but at least there is a consistency there. This was clearly contrived and manufactured to allow that kind of finish. I thought Lewis behaved with enormous dignity afterwards, going to the Red Bull pits to congratulate them, but he must feel absolutely gutted that the rules are rigged against him. Former F1 driver Stefan Johansson has also chastised FIA racing director Michael Massey for refusing to accept the obvious solution to what happened on the final lap of the disputed Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. Whether it's international or not, the entertainment value of this controversy has gone through the roof. But I think there has to be a balance somewhere, because the decisions Massey made no sense on any level. His decision completely ignored any level of common sense as to what would have been a fair way to handle the situation. The only way it should have been done was by doing what you'd normally do, and indeed what he did in the race prior. As soon as they deployed the safety car with 5 laps to go, they should have red flagged the race. That's the only way to keep it level and keep the excitement until the end. You would have had everyone come into the pits while they cleared the track, put new tyres on, and go from there, like they did at the Saudi Grand Prix when Red Bull rebuilt half their car and put new tyres on. Had that been done, you could have had a fair 5-lap shootout for the championship. This controversial finish no doubt left Hamilton with a bitter taste in his mouth, and many speculated whether the racing legend would ever race again, with the Brit yet to break his silence on social media. However, racing fans around the world may be able to breathe a sigh of relief now that Mercedes has hinted that the Englishman will be back on track in 2022. The Constructors' Champions took to social media to share a photo of Hamilton with the caption, "Adversity causes some to break, others to break records. Of course, in F1, what is logical does not always happen. But in the shock scenario that Hamilton walks, Mercedes does at least have a sensible solution on the table that could definitely work to get through 2022. Thank you for your time. What are your thoughts on Hamilton's retirement from F1? Is it plausible? Is there a clear solution in sight for Mercedes, or will it be difficult to find a replacement? How do you see Hamilton's title chances in 2022 if he does return? Let us know in the comment box below, and if you enjoyed the video, please like, subscribe and click the bell icon to be notified every time new videos are posted.